Yes, welcome back into the Auburn Daily Show, the Wednesday edition. I'm Harrison Tarr, joined as always on Wednesday by the dangerous Dylan Larck, at your boy the Tank, and the known talker of football, knower of ball, Dylan Larck. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. Had a bowl of Cheerios for breakfast, so I'm starting off my morning off right. So ready to talk about some
Right.
football.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off there. I'm not gonna cut you off much today. I know I'm having a little bit of connection issues on my end, and I think I just need to reset my laptop. But let's go ahead and let Tank do what Tank does best and talk football. And let's talk Auburn Pro Day. We're on the backside of this thing now. Shedrick Jackson really turned some heads. Uh, there was plenty to be talked about, but let's go ahead and start. And I want to get your thoughts and your breakdown of what Shedrick Jackson did. First off, just what he produced, and your thoughts on some what might be NFL draft stock for him.
Yeah, I was very shocked and surprised by what Shedrick Jackson did on that field yesterday. Watching him for play football for 4 seasons, five. How long was he at Auburn? 7 years, 8 years,
Seasons.
nine, no, 5 seasons. Yeah.
Right.
You didn't see a lot of the speed that he ran a 4.25 40, by the way, not a 4.25. Was that right? 4.25?
I thought it
4.29.
was. Yep.
Yeah, according to 24/7, I'm looking at that 4.29 40, which would have been faster than a lot of players at the combine. And looking at it from film, you would have never seen it on the field. You've
Yep.
never seen him run that fast on the football field. This never happened. It just never happened. And then he goes out in the pro day, probably a little chip on his shoulder. He didn't get invited to the combine, which is kind of shocking because like most Auburn players kind of do if they declare. But he didn't, and he took it upon himself to blow up Auburn pro day, 4.29 40, vertical jump 38 and a half feet, inches. Sorry, not feet. That'd be ridiculous if he did a vert at 38 feet. Broad jump 11 feet and 2 inches. I think he would have led Auburn in a lot of those categories in the combine. We talked about how Owen Papo is that much of an athletic monster that he is. Shedrick Jackson had him beaten a lot of those categories. And I look at I don't know if this is going to get him drafted, but for sure this is going to get him signed by a lot of looks at by a lot of teams, strictly because no one expected this to happen. I don't think I didn't see any of the receiving drills. I didn't hear about those. I just was kind of just hearing about his the 40 time, the broad jumps, the vertical jumps, the bench press is like okay, 13 is pretty average for wide receiver, I believe. But I mean, he just went off. He went from vertically no draft stock to draft stock. That just pro day's wild.
Yeah, it's certainly an opportunity to boost draft stock, and Shedrick Jackson capitalized on what we kind of believe to not really be any draft stock. I feel confident in saying he'll be on a preseason roster and he's going to get a chance at the NFL level because I think he's one of those guys, and I don't want to say he's broken. Don't get me wrong. Don't misconstrue me. But there will be a lot of offensive coordinators in this league and wide receiver coaches in the National Football League that'll look and say, I think I can fix him. I think I can make him a very serviceable wide receiver in the NFL, and I think that'll earn him his right to at least make a practice squad roster throughout the duration of the 23-24 season. And I like I said, I can say I feel like beyond a shadow of a doubt he will be on a preseason roster. That being said, with the essence of the train horn in the background, welcome to Macon, Georgia, adds a little bit of the flavor here. Let's keep talking about some other guys that really were able to showcase their talents, and a guy that we wish we would have been able to see compete at the NFL Combine. Let's talk to the other side of the ball. Let's talk a little bit about Eku Leota, Dylan. Give us the breakdown real quick on Eku Leota's performance at Pro Day and really what this could mean for him because I think he's going to be a very, very valuable asset to an NFL team.
Well, yeah, like the combine though, AQ Leota did not do any of the drills, but again, it's more of a interview process. You know, all 32 teams were in attendance. Over 75 scouts were there. They all just trying to see if these Auburn guys can, be worthy of drafting. But EQ Leota, again, I mean, impressed with his interview things. As always, I think he's still going to get drafted, no matter even if he hasn't worked out for a team quite yet. he shows the potential. He has showed his ability to be a very worthy draft prospect. And the injury maybe is dropping his stock a little bit, but his knowledge of the game, his ability of what he did whenever he was on the field at Auburn before the injury, that's what's making is making those scouts, those coaches, all kind of look around and be like, you know what? If we get this guy healthy,
Sure.
he'd be very special to our defense, and that's just kind of how EQ is viewed right now because there's not a lot of tape on him at Auburn, and you're just kind of maybe just gonna take a shot on a guy who maybe is a little I don't say a little injury prone, but has suffered a big enough injury to where it's going to affect him.
Sure. But there's also the forever lingering question in any Auburn fan's mind, specifically an Auburn fan that lived through the 22 season, rather, excuse me. What if Ekuliota doesn't get injured? Can you imagine the film that this guy would have had, and the season he was going to have going down the list, and maybe it takes away from a little bit of, I guess, if you want to call it stat padding from Derek Hall, who we'll talk about here in just a moment, just because Derek wound up getting tasked with more in terms of quarterback pressures and things of that nature. But I think there's enough on him, even in the 22 season, to see where he got better. He's a very valuable asset on that defensive side of the ball, and the guy, he's got the football IQ, like you said, and you just wonder to yourself, he feels like he could be the widest range maybe in this NFL draft for the Auburn Tigers, but can also wind up being a guy that we could see playing on some contending NFL teams and getting significant snaps. I almost said minutes. We're out of basketball season. Time for me to move forward with that, but I just mentioned it a little bit. Let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. Talk to me a little bit about Derek Hall and what he's been able to do in his pro day, and more importantly, I mean, we saw what he did at the combine. We've seen projections of him late first, early second. Where's Derek Hall sitting in your mind after you mentioned what his accolades at Auburn Pro Day?
So after you compete in pro day, you typically don't have to do the drills. Or once you compete at the combine, you don't typically have to do any of the drills. And he didn't do the 40. He didn't do the bench. He didn't do the shuttle. He didn't do all that stuff. But he did do the defensive line drills. And I've heard teams have been very impressed with his agility. That's not something you see very much from a guy of his height and weight and just size in general. Just because Derek Hall is very good. I know that's kind of downplaying how good he really is. That's why he's projected as a first-round pick. But his footwork is out of this world. The only thing affecting his draft stock is the fact that this edge rushing class coming in is just so loaded that you don't know if you're going to get Derek Hall in the first round, and you might get lucky enough to get him in the second round. That's just how his film has looked. That's just how he has performed. But the only let's say the only thing that's getting him a lower draft stock is the fact that there's so many edge rushers in this class.
Sure. Which plays to the benefit of a lot of NFL organizations that need help on that edge rushing position. So I think that Derek Hall could wind up with a team in the middle of a rebuild, but he could also find himself on a team like Kansas City, like we've seen him projected to go to in a number of mock drafts at that last pick in the first round. In the round that only has 31 picks. Shout out the New Orleans Saints, right? Yeah. Miami Dolphins, excuse me. Sorry. I could care less about pro ball outside of the Auburn guys, full disclosure. But something to keep an eye on. I also think that Derek Hall is one of those guys, and Auburn's kind of loaded with them per usual. They're pretty polished coming out of school in terms of he's going to interview very, very well. He's also just by all accounts a down-to-earth good dude. And apparently, if you're interested in barbecue, he can cook up for the whole team. So that's something to keep an eye on, certainly going forward. I wanted to mention another name to you just real quickly before we get back on the backside of this and talk a little bit more about some guys that are actively at Auburn. But before we get to that, let's talk for a second about the guy throwing the footballs to the receivers. Cam Newton back on the Plains. The whole no, there's not 32 better than me. I don't think he's wrong. Dylan, what have you heard? What have you seen out of Cam Newton's performance, which is wild that this is 2023 and we're talking about Cam Newton at Auburn Pro Day, but his performance in terms of his impression and your thoughts on his likelihood of finding a role within the NFL going into the 23 season.
All right, so Cam Newton has not touched the football field in about a season and a half, really. No, he came back to Carolina, which was kind of a last ditch effort for Matt Rule to get anybody who's a Carolina Panther fan to like him. That was the last time anyone did, was the Arizona Cardinals game 2 seasons ago. So no one signed Cam Newton, and no one has signed Cam Newton, and probably no one is going to sign Cam Newton. But what this did was it showed that he still has the arm talent. But the only thing that's not gonna get him signed is the fact that has been injury prone over the last couple seasons, and partial blame goes to Carolina Panthers because they constantly rush his injuries, constantly rush his health, put him in when he shouldn't have been in, and of course you also have T.J. Watt who hit him in the shoulder very hard, and that also derailed his career a little bit. Just a little dig at the Harrison Tarr Steelers, but what I'm hearing is that it probably won't get him signed, but I have to look across the league. I can't name the 32. I can't name a quarterback, or I can name plenty of quarterbacks. There we go. I can name plenty of quarterbacks that Cam Newton would definitely be a more valuable starter over. Las Vegas. And if you look across the league, I mean, yeah, he's got a point. People were kind of downplaying it because he hasn't played in a year, but this is an MVP quarterback. It's a Heisman winning quarterback. This is a guy who's competed at the highest level of the game. And you can't tell me that some teams aren't a little curious if they can get that old Cam Newton back. He's a little old. He's 33, which quarterbacks can play till they're 45. We've seen it happen before. Tom Brady was contemplated doing it until he retired again.
For now.
But his level for now, yes. But for Cam's level of play, it's kind of hard for a team to look at him and sign him because he is getting up there, especially for a dual threat quarterback. That level of play does not last that long. It's happened time and time again. That's why the pass first quarterbacks have done the best ever. That's why when you look at your top 10 quarterbacks, you don't put the dual threat quarterback you're going to put in there is Steve Young. But after that, I mean, I still think Cam Newton's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks to ever play, but his prime was so short because of the injuries, because he didn't have the O-line. He had to run around. He had to take hits. That's what his type of quarterback has to deal with. If he runs out of the pocket, he's going to get hit.
And it shrinks the lifespan.
Exactly. But he won an MVP. And if a team needs a flashy signee just to get one, Cam Newton's as flashy as you can get.
That's right. And my only, as I wrap up this conversation to get ready to tell everybody about our friends over at Prize Picks, my one closing thought on that nature is, or that conversation is, I don't know Cam's thoughts on playing a backup role. I don't think he's necessarily interested in playing backup quarterback to anybody, and I don't necessarily know that he fits as a backup quarterback in the NFL. I think that he's too much of a starter capacity. So as Dylan mentioned, it's unfortunate that Carolina botched a couple things with his health related, but you know what? Who never botches anything by me? Prize Picks, Dylan. Prize Picks has never done me wrong. This season, Auburn Daily is partnered with Prize Picks to bring some fun and variety to the picks in 2023. Prize Picks is a free app that allows you to choose any 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 players from any sport in your wagers. Predict the over-under for the next game and win big prizes if they do well. Best part of this, Dylan, they have flex options where you can still get paid on winning only 3 of 5 or 2 of 3. And you can have multiple sports in the same parlay. Super clutch, makes it more fun. You want to set your apartment or house up like it's a Buffalo Wild Wings, go for it. So you can watch all your legs of your parlay. Best of all, use promo code Auburn, that's AUBURN, to receive double on your first deposit up to $100. That's promo code Auburn, AUBURN, for double your first deposit. It says this college basketball season, and in our typical read, but college basketball season is almost over. You could still make the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, and the Final Four a lot of fun with Prize Picks. So you can hit that up.
And the draft.
That's right. Win some money with Prize Picks and the Auburn Daily. Use promo code Auburn, AUBURN, for double of your first deposit up to $100. Dylan, let's get right back into Pro Day. And let's talk another name that people are going to be keeping an eye out for, especially Auburn fans that this guy's really endeared himself to the program and those around it. Let's talk Tank Bigsby for a minute here. Talk to me about Tank Bigsby's pro day, his draft stock, where that's headed.
So I don't know how accurate the pro day 40 time is, but Tank increased it from the combine to here. He went from running a 4.54, 4.56 to running a 4.45, which is a huge difference. I know the 0.1 doesn't really seem like it is, but for a running back, you want a running back who can run in that 4.4 range. And that was the only thing he ran, because I think whenever he ran a 4.5, he kind of looked at it as, yeah, that's not me. That's not my best run. That could have been better. So he hung back. He got prepared for pro day, and he ran the 40 faster. My problem with Tank is it, like the edge rusher position. Derek is lucky enough to be one of the higher rated edge rushers. Tank is kind of in the middle of the running backs, and it's a position, like I talked with Lance Daw on Monday when we previewed pro day. Running back is so undervalued nowadays, unless you have a guy like a Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler. Everyone just kind of falls into the mix of, oh, he's just a running back. He's just he's all he is good for is carrying the ball, and it's running back by committee nowadays. Most teams don't just have one singular running back; they have 3 or 4. Tank is falling into the realm of where he's going to be more of a complimentary back wherever he goes, maybe a third string back somewhere, just because he has the talent. He's going to get drafted no matter what. We know that for a fact, but he might not be the starter that we think he should be off the bat. I definitely think that he possesses the talent and the potential to eventually steal a starting role from somebody.
Sure.
But that's just the truth. The running back is such a saturated position nowadays in the NFL, just because every year you get 20 running backs who declare for the draft, and every year you get 20 more. It happens, and hopefully Tank does find himself as a starting back somewhere. You hope and pray that it happens, just because you want more Auburn players in the NFL.
Sure.
I don't know as of right now where or who is looking at Tank Bigsby. I've heard several teams. I've heard the Cowboys. I've heard the Falcons. I've heard several teams. And Lions, yeah, for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though this guy David Montgomery and lost Jamal Williams, which was sad. But the running back position, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm with you. They're a dime a dozen now, and that's nothing against Tank Bigsby, but running back lifespans are so short in the NFL, and they're kind of, like you said, they're expendable. So they're a position that is pretty injury prone, because teams will run them into the ground and go get a new rookie out of the draft. It kind of just the vicious circle of life for running backs. The best thing you can be able to do to keep yourself in the league is learn how to pass block well, which I think that serves well to Tank Bigsby's credit. Another couple names I wanted to talk about, Dylan, before we get out of here and let folks enjoy the rest of their Wednesday. Just a quick touch on linebacker Owen Papo. Obviously did not participate in the broad jump, bench press, 40-yard, anything vertical, things of that nature. But did mention that ever since his showing at the combine, things have been picking up, traction's been gaining. And he kind of spoke to us about that on the College Loop podcast last week, which, when you put up numbers like that in the combine, that's going to happen. What I really wanted to get to is let's talk a little bit about tight end John Samuel Shenker. And I'll go ahead. Actually, have the numbers in front of me. 29-inch vertical, 9'1" broad jump, bench press 27 reps, 40-yard, and a 4.53 unofficial. I'm not entirely sure how John Samuel Shenker plays into the league, but I feel pretty strongly about him getting an opportunity in the preseason. Thoughts?
Yeah, I watched him play throughout his entire half decade that he played for Auburn, for both football and baseball. The thing that's holding back Shank's ability to get drafted is his speed. He has the talent, he has the IQ, he has the hands. That's the only thing that's getting him is the speed. And the stat sheet that I read apparently was wrong. He didn't run a 4.53, which I thought was wild that that's what he was running. And then I looked it up and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. He ran a 4.84, but he also put up bench press, put up 27 reps on the bench press, vertical jump 29 inches, broad jump 9 foot. That's pretty daggum good for a tight end who we've kind of said that his athletic ability is kind of his downside. Those are pretty good numbers for a tight end like that. And his blocking ability is already there.
Sure.
Reliable hands. He was Auburn's best pass catcher over the last 3 seasons. And that's not even a debate. That is a statement of fact. He was Auburn's best pass catcher. And as a blocker, the blocking tight end is kind of a dying breed as the Travis Kelce's and the TJ Hawkinsons and the Mark Andrews of the world are putting up crazy receiving numbers. But a blocking tight end is very...
Don't leave my boy George out of that.
Yeah, but the... sorry, I'm like the 49ers. I forget they exist sometimes, and I forget to throw it to them. But his ability to block is underrated. And his ability to actually catch the ball is also underrated. He's 6'2", which is kind of on the short end for a tight end, but the blocking's is kind of how I talk about Shedrick Jackson. His ability to block is kind of next level, and you can see that because he was recruited by Gus Malzahn, and Gus didn't really ever use tight ends out after CJ Uzomah. The tight end was usually just an extra offensive lineman. And that's what he got with Shenker. And we just got lucky that he was able to catch the ball, too. I think that's what's going to get him drafted is his blocking ability. And if people are really impressed with his sneaky speed, 4.84 is really good. I actually thought he was going to shoot lower than that. He didn't drop a pass. And reliable hands are very rare in the league. You don't get guys like that.
That's why Auburn referred to him as old reliable.
Yeah. And it'd be cool if Auburn had another tight end in the league. According to Madden, you got Josh Harris, who's just a long snapper, CJ Uzomah, and John Samuel Shenker eventually.
CJ Uzomah of the New York Jets, correct?
Yes. Formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes. That's a weird crossover event that I was not expecting to happen. One more person I wanted to talk about, just super briefly before we get out of here, Dylan. Just wanted to mention, you're going to be angry if we don't talk about it. Most Auburn fans would be if we didn't talk about Colby Wooden. Measured in 6'4", 278, did not participate in vertical broad, bench, or 40-yard dash, but had a good showing at the combine. No, so nothing alarming on that front. A guy that I think Dylan and I would agree, and a lot of people would agree, is going to make an NFL team. Very, very happy. Should do very well in the interview process and things of that nature. Dylan, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything here. I knew that I saw the phone pop up on your screen. Didn't want to see if you had mentioned anything that I had looked over. And it appears as though I passed the vibe check on from your boy the Tank and Tank Talks Football. So Dylan, let's get out of here. Let's let these folks enjoy the rest of their Wednesday. Tell everybody where they can find more of your work, support you, love you, listen to you, all that fun jazz.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at your boy the Tank. If you're watching, it's right there. If you're listening, it's at YABOI the Tank. And you guys catch me on the Auburn Daily Show on Monday as well with Lance Daw. If you want to go watch us preview the the pro day after you watch us review the pro day, that'd be a good idea because that show is a lot of fun as well. If you go watch the first 3 minutes at least, you'll realize I didn't know Lance clicked record. And I was kind of just looking around my room. You can also catch me on the College Loop. That is my podcast with Harrison Tarr, where I also talk about Auburn sports every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. You can follow us literally everywhere. It's just the College Loop. We don't have a MySpace, but we have literally every other social media platform.
I knew you had to plant that Easter egg.
Yeah, of course I had to.
Dylan, it's always a joy talking ball with you, man. I'm Harrison Tarr, at by Harrison Tarr on Twitter. If you want to check out my written work, that is at the Auburn Daily. If you found this show, you've probably found the Auburn Daily. That's at by Harrison Tarr on Twitter. Like I said, you can also check me out every Wednesday and Friday right here on the Auburn Daily Show. Wednesday with Dylan Larck, Friday with the legendary Lindsey Crosby. More of my podcasting work, if you're interested in that kind of thing. We've got a lot of fun interviews coming up on the College Loop, like Dylan Larck mentioned. That's every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Punctually, we've also got post-game reactions. You guys seem to like those, so maybe we'll integrate baseball and softball. I'm not opposed. I think Dylan's always down to talk some Auburn ball, and we have a lot of fun with it over there. Other than that, that's all we've got today on the Wednesday installment of the Auburn Daily Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Let us know where you think all of your favorite Auburn players are going in the NFL draft. We'll have some good discourse and talk about it on both our show here and Dylan and I will always interact on the College Loop. More than happy to do so. Until next time, I am Harrison Tarr. This is Dylan Larck. This has been the Wednesday installment of the Auburn Daily Show. We'll see you the same place, same time tomorrow afternoon, and I will see you guys on Friday. Enjoy your Wednesday.